3, 2, 1, engage. Now, future. The journey to greatness.
Yeah, wow. Wow, indeed. A very good evening. We're off to a planet which is especially about Marcel Wanders tonight. So it's great you're all here tonight in this clock building over here. And we have a full house, so thank you for coming for such a wonderful and huge crowd to discuss the work of Marcel Wanders, because that's what we're going to do in the coming 2 hours. In the first hour, I will have a one-to-one conversation with Marcel Wanders about his work, about Dutch design, and about some other things we're going to discuss, I think. In the second hour, we'll be joined by Sander Wassink, and with the three of us, we're going to have a conversation about generations, about what design is happening at the moment, and how we can collaborate a bit more when it comes to their work and other work, and some other themes we're going to discuss, I'm quite sure, as well. And at 9:30, it's time for drinks. But just before the ending, I would like to invite you also to, if you have questions at the end of the evening, we have a couple of moments for a couple of questions for either Sander or Marcel, if you want to ask them at the end of our beautiful, hopefully beautiful evening. But to no further ado, I will first introduce Marcel. My name, by the way, is Farid Tabarki. I was the last 2 years a Trend Watcher of the Year, and I will be your moderator of this evening. But now we'll go to our special guest, and you will see the work of our guest while I'm introducing him to you a bit. Marcel Wanders graduated cum laude from the Hogeschool voor de Kunsten in Arnhem in 1988 after being expelled from the Eindhoven Design Academy. Yes, I think we're going to discuss that. In 1995, he opened his studio in the beating heart of the Dutch capital, Amsterdam, quickly cornering to worldwide attention in 1996 for his iconic knotted chair, which paired high-tech materials with low-tech production methods. Today, Marcel's powerhouse studio numbers about 50 international design specialists, and he's a prolific product and interior designer and art director. Ubiquitous with over 1,700 plus projects to his name for private clients and premium brands like Alessi, Bizaza, KLM, Floss, Swarovski, Puma, amongst scores of others. Regarded by many as an anomaly in the design world, Marcel has made it his mission to create an environment of love, live with passion, and make our most exciting dreams come true. His work excites, provokes, and polarizes, but never fails to surprise for its ingenuity, daring, and singular quest to uplift the human spirit and entertain. With this track record, it's no surprise that the New York Times dubbed Marcel the Lady Gaga of design, or that Business Week selected him as one of Europe's 25 leaders of change. In 2006, Elle Decoration awarded Marcel the prestigious title of Designer of the Year. Other award wins include the Philadelphia Museum of Art's Modern Design Collaborative Award, Collab, and the Design Excellence Award for Marcel's significant contribution to the field of design in 2009. And if that isn't already quite a career, on February 1st, 2014, Amsterdam's premier contemporary art and design institution, the Stedelijk Museum, will open the doors of its first dedicated design exhibition since reopening in 2012, Marcel Wanders pinned up at the Stedelijk 25 of the years. Lots to discuss. Please give him a warm welcome, Marcel Wanders. Good evening. Please have a seat. Great you're here.
Hello. Good to be here.
Yeah. So how is it to be in such a full house? A warm applause you get from a city you were expelled from.
It's really
originally.
Weird. It's really weird. In the bus here, because we have a few people of my studio here. In the bus, I thought, this is easy. I'm really relaxed and everything's fine. I'm reading some stuff. And now I'm really nervous. So
where are you?
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Yeah.
I think you'll be fine. But it's interesting because when you were expelled from Eindhoven, it's also in your last name, by the way. You went to Maastricht, you went to Arnhem, you lived in Rotterdam, you now live in Amsterdam. But you're active globally. You're kind of a wanderer, aren't you? Or is that a complete wrong term for you?
Well, being kicked out of Eindhoven got me the good sides of being kicked out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of not planned, but it happened even though. But I think it's also, I think it's really great if you get new teachers all the time. I have not gotten a set of teachers who told me exactly what things were like. I got a few, a lot of different opinions. Also during school, I was always out in the world, fly to Italy or hitchhike to Italy and to London and to go to galleries and really dive into other opinions and so that's kind of it's been good for me.
Okay, so you've been exploring and searching ever since you were expelled from here. Are you still wondering, or did you already find a home?
No, I think in 1995 I really deliberately opened my own studio because I was sure I couldn't leave there and I wouldn't be kicked out. So that was kind of the reason I made my own studio. Because also after school, I was making short steps every time. Not too short, but short enough that I felt like it's good to make a step which is more more serious and more strong, and I can't leave there anymore.
Okay, and. Is there something where you're looking for at the moment? Because you're still searching, still exploring, still seeing parts of the world. Now back in Eindhoven for this weekend, a special evening. What are you looking for at the moment? Is there something particular you are interested in?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting time. I think in the world of design. I mean, I think the last few years have started to show a kind of a new direction, a new kind of movement, a new kind of thinking in design. And I think it's really changing all of us a little bit. And I think that's a real great thing. So I think all of us feel at the same time very comfortable, but also a bit like, uncomfortable because we don't know exactly where things are going, but they're going somewhere.
Okay,
I think it's a real exciting period in time.
And where do you put this moment? When it starts?
Well, I think it's maybe it's very personal, but maybe it's also something like bigger than me, because I feel that the last 5 years or so you start to see where things are going a bit. It's more clear. People don't only have ideas, but more and more people start to solidify their thinking in businesses and in groups and in working relationships, and so things are not. You see that design thinking has started to be an energy which goes more far than creating objects, but it's really design thinking which resonates in businesses, it resonates in groups of people, it resonates in foundations, it resonates in society. And I think that's something which also excites us, I think, because we're kind of in the middle of this. The other side, it could be very personal. I think also maybe it's just with me. Maybe I'm thinking all that because I think if you're young,
it's only your mind, but everybody else.
Yeah, I think if you're really young, you have no idea what's happening, and you're very insecure about everything. And then at some point, you think you know everything, and you know exactly how things are going. And then if you're as old as me, then sometimes you're starting to doubt everything again. So maybe it's also that.
And you're in this phase now where before you knew everything and you were the...
I think it's it's a constant flow of things, but I think I'm doubting more than I did 5 years ago.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
so we have 2 hours to explore many themes. So I think we're going to discuss all the things you are already mentioning. Let's go a bit back before the 5 years ago when things started to shift. Also, when it comes to the things you're saying, when it comes to design thinking, when you were wondering in the 90s, what kind of state was design in back then? How did you position yourselves in the design scene back then?
Well, I think we're talking about pre-Droog time now, right? I mean, it's
the Middle Ages,
It's kind of quite a while ago, but I think if you just open if you can still find them, we used to have magazines like Paper and stuff.
It's hard. That's old school.
It's hard to believe, but if you look to them, you see a world which is completely different than it is today, and I think. I think Droog design was a clear, maybe not so clear, but there was an answer to a kind of over-excitement on design side. I mean, things were becoming a bit like overly excited in their design mentality. And I mean, I think us being Dutch, we saw things a bit more, clear and more straightforward. And I always kind of thought that it was like design at that point in time was a lot about the dress, the clothing, you know, the schmook. And I think we were probably, you know, creating the skeleton, you know, so it's really the core of things, really the most basic,
so you're ripping off the
fundamental.
clothes, ripping off the flesh, and
Yeah, just like
the bare
you know,
bone.
Yeah, bare bone. I would say not the body even, but really rip out, you know, to go to the core of things.
Okay.
And just to you know, probably we took the skin with the clothing. Probably that's kind of what happened. Yeah.
It sounds like a very rough period.
Well, rough. I mean, in a design world, which was like so yeah, it's kind of organized the way it was. I think it was kind of very different what we did, and it was kind of, you know, important also at that point in time.
Could you explain something about how did you approach this searchness for the straightforwardness, for the essence of things? What was your personal quest in that?
Well, I think the beautiful thing is that if you look to what drug design was at the moment it was out and people were speaking about it, and if you read the texts which were then written, they were kind of, you know, the representation of the organization. I think what really happened was just something different. I think if you look to the work of Jürgen and Hella and myself, and you see it a little bit more far, then you see that we were working on themes which are different than the themes we represented officially. I think it's kind of interesting. And there's hardly anybody who writes about it, but it could be an interesting research, because I think if you also look to the work of Hella, Jürgen, and myself, it's you know, in the kind of early 2000s, it did something completely different than you would expect it to do. So the work was way more. We were looking for we were working within the constraints of archetypes, but we were looking for another form of communication. We were looking for a way more romantic and humanistic typology of design, and to really embed the design thinking in a kind of humanist tradition almost, where we were facing a world which is very rational, academic, and minimalistic. And I think that's kind of the bigger change behind these few people around. I think that's more what is the result of this period.
And how did it work out when it comes to the collaborations and the names you just mentioned? Was it a fight? Was it building something on something else? Was it a parallel universe?
Yeah, it was really. I mean, it was sometimes difficult to explain to people that we were, because everybody thought we were like a group of people, and so we were completely separate people. I mean, there was really. We saw each other once or twice a year. I mean,
there were no big evening gatherings where you were.
No, you know, it could have been fun. No, it was nothing like that. There were gatherings when everybody presented the work to Gijs and Rennie, but that was kind of more project-based than real, you know, creating something.
Yeah, it was more practical.
It was practical more than anything else. It was surprising how there was a synergy in thinking, and how there was a kind of logic of what to do. And I think also, Gijs and Rennie were really good in, you know, seeing what was happening also. I mean, whatever we would have done, I think they would have found a way to make it a story also, which, you know, which worked well. I think it's also that. I mean, I think it's also that.
But how do you explain, because this is interesting, how do you explain that still there was a logic in your approaches or in your thinking, by coincidence, because you didn't have these big gatherings and, within the schools there was something else going on?
Yeah, I think there was a Dutchness about it. I mean, there was something which we shared. I mean, together, you know, things like, you know, using so much the strength of archetypes. We kind of all were looking into that. The invention of the imperfect was kind of something which we all kind of started to work on. to go, we all saw that industry was only capable of so much, and we would have to humanize industry, and everybody was working on teams like that. Communication was changing so much around us, and so automatically we started to make different things. I mean, a prototype suddenly was, worldwide. So things changed at that point, and so we were able to see what that brought us, right? And so I think there were some themes which are very evident to all of us. And so we worked on the same teams, I guess, if you want to see it that way.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe.
And then you also had your own studio, and you say everybody had his own approach. There was not much collaboration or influences from others on your work back then. Or what was there?
No, again, I think we knew each other very well, but maybe I was a little bit more outside because the rest was from Eindhoven probably, and I was kicked out. So.
Yeah, you were expelled.
But I think also Piet Hein was kicked out, and I think there was not like a solid group.
No.
I mean, we were presented as a solid group, but we were not a solid group. I mean, there were people who were talking more to each other, like the people in Arnhem would talk to each other, and the people in Eindhoven would talk to each other, and some people in Rotterdam talked to each other, and I was in Amsterdam. Yeah.
It's interesting because you said during your studying period that you almost picked and chose the knowledge you needed and the things you were influenced by. How did that work if you compare it to nowadays? Is this pick and choose attitude still going on?
Well, to start with, I mean, again, I have to say that I was kicked out. It was not very conscious. I mean, I cried on the. We were sitting in Elzendlaan, and I was just like crying because I was kicked out.
Now
like,
what?
It was horrible, right? I mean, just imagine. I go to this school. I think design is something fun. I have no idea. Nobody in my family knows about it, but I think it's cool. So I go to this school. After something like 8 or 9 months, I'm like, fucking, this is super cool. I love this shit. And then after 10 months, they kick me out. That's really horrible, right? Yeah. And then at that point in time, they were saying to us, we were just like not so connected as today. Yeah, this is the one and only design school in the world. I'm like, fuck. So it was really, and in a way it was that way because then I went to find another school. I tried Arnhem, they didn't want me. Then I find Maastricht was the only place where I could go, which was very. So I started to go some other places, and I think a good student will always learn, right? I mean, so I learned stuff. I learned all kinds of stuff. I remember that I was going to a school which is mostly kind of organized to design jewelry, but I told them, listen, I don't want to make jewelry. I'll do also jewelry, but I want to do other stuff, and so. At some point, I'm designing a ceramic plate, and I remember with one of these teachers, for more than an hour, we talked about the sound of the plate. I mean, that would have never happened in Eindhoven, right? I mean, I don't know if it's very valuable, but it's a super crazy experience, right? I mean, it's like, I mean, a craftsman connects to his objects in a completely different way than an engineer. And so it's wonderful to see all these different brains rotating around the same substance. So I've learned a lot because I was in different places. Then after, I was in Maastricht at the same time. So I did 2 schools at some point. One is in Hasselt, which is like Thursday night and then Saturday and Sunday. So it's like pretty much booked. But that was industrial, very industrial, almost like the Delft type of design. So complete opposites, but completely wonderful to have these completely different ways to look at the same things.
So you were influenced by so many things then. I mean, when it comes to studies or materials, the approach to how you can watch the world. I mean, why were you so hungry for all these different influences? Because most people just go to one university and that's about it.
I think that's one of the good things of being kicked out. I didn't like that. I really decided, fuck, I'll show them I can do this shit.
So you went to the overdrive.
Yeah, I think that's, if I'm honest, I think that's it. Because also, and later I went to study in Arnhem, and so in like half a year I won I think 2 or 3 design contests, one which like 60, 50 people of Eindhoven and me were in, and I won that one. So, I mean, I think that was the first time that for a week or so I did nothing. It's just like, I'm done. That was it, you know. So, yeah, there's a kind of, I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
To myself.
A bit of a strebertje in Dutch.
Yeah, I think it's, that's probably part of it.
Oh, that's fine. Is that an attitude you carry on always? I mean, is this hungry for? I mean, well, for instance, what's currently? Is there currently an approach you haven't learned yet, but are interested in learning, or you're looking forward to?
No, I think it's way more quiet now. I think I'm really interested in developing myself.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of always been a driver. I mean, I've never done networking and so, because I always think like, you know, if you do your networking really well, then you get all these opportunities, you're not ready for them, and you just like screw up and you fail. I always try to concentrate on being better, being the best I can be. And I've always tried to, you know, just to be, you know, modest about that, but really work hard on that. And I think that's still the case today. And so also I measure myself. I don't measure myself in competition. I don't.
How did you, by the way, knew what you wanted to know? I mean, so you were at Hasselt, was more the industrial approach. Maastricht had a different. I mean, were you conscious of what you were looking for, or was it all just?
No, I think you don't.
Come as it goes.
I think you don't always know.
No?
I think you don't. No, I think
not a big plan.
There's a big plan, but then, you know, because the plan is about education and being better. I mean, if you look back, you know what you have learned and what was important, but you don't know. So it's just like you just try to learn everything. It's like a video game. You shoot everything. You hope you hit the right things, right? And no, I think it was not so conscious. I mean, I think I read my stuff. You know, I was talking to people, but in a way, you don't know exactly what you have to learn, but you have an idea. You have a kind of direction.
When did the rest of the world came into place? So you were studying the studio. When were you starting to get influenced by outside Maastricht or Eindhoven or Hasselt? This could be a foreign country, but
yeah. Well, after Hasselt and Maastricht, I studied in Arnhem. And there I finished school. And the last year became a bit like I was a bit active outside of school.
A bit?
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
Yeah, a bit of, I have a lot of energy, so. But not so much. But, you know, and after I started my own studio, my work was published quite strongly.
Yeah.
I started my own studio, but I really wanted to not only end up in a kind of cultural scene, I wanted to do real stuff, you know, real products. And of course, there was nobody who trusted me to do that. And so I thought, you know, the way to do it is to collect, you know, a few people and to be a bit stronger. But that, of course, didn't work because everybody was moving and had new girlfriends and was moving to London. And so there was no way we could do this. And then I was in a project for KLM. I lost the project, but KLM, Landmark, at that point, important studio, they asked me to work for them on their winning project. And so for 2 years, I worked in their studio. That was a great learning process. Ton Haas was one of the founding members. That was a great period. And after this, for 2 or 3 years, I've been in a studio together with 3 partners. We had, as we call in Holland, a maatschap. All of us did our own things, but you know, we developed products and interiors. And then that was finished, and I moved to Amsterdam, and I set up my own studio. I was going through quite a heavy period, and I learned a lot, and so I was ready to, you know, I was ready.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that until that moment, I was really also focusing on getting ready and to work on me being strong. And only after that, you know, I think it's like It popped open.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then international success came and is still there. How is, do you think here in the Netherlands we approach your work differently from, let's say, China or
I'm sorry.
do you think we approach, if Dutch or Europeans view your work differently than, for instance, China or Dubai or Miami?
Yeah, I think there's. This is not about my work; it's about the world. I think if you go travel around the world, then you will see that there's quite a few billion people, and they have real different ways to look at things.
Yeah.
Some people don't even look at design. It's unbelievable. So there is, and then there's other people who do look at it, but with their own kind of logic and own consequence. I mean, in Eindhoven, people look different to design than in Amsterdam, and so in Holland they look different than in Germany, and in Germany they look different than in Italy. And we all know this, and so it's also so that there's people further away who've been opened up to a kind of world culture only since short. They have a completely different logic. I mean, I think we in the West, we have had 150 years of modernism in our society, and it's deeply embedded in who we are. And I think there's areas which don't have that.
Yeah.
They just stepped out of a period of a completely different period, and they have a completely different education when it comes about beauty or rationale or when it's about logic. I mean, they have completely different ways to look at the world. Their language, visual language, is different, and so obviously, there's a world out there which we don't get,
but
and they don't get us.
Well, some people do because they like your work also very much so outside Europe. Does it help to not be being taught modernism or having a modernist society to look at your work and to appreciate your work?
Well, I think this is a very modernist society.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. No, but I mean there are non-modernist societies out there who still appreciate your work. Is that easier for them?
No, I think I think if I'm more modernist than I would like to be. Let me say it that way. I would love to be less modernist, but I'm just only a guy.
It's in there. You can't.
Yeah. It's
you try to rip it out, but
well, it's a deeply rooted thing. It's in us, right? I mean, we have a very strong dogmatic side in our society. It's bigger than us individual. It's just like we live with it, and for a part, it's wonderful also. At the other hand, I'm really seeing the negative sides of modernism, and I'm trying to fight it with all I have in me.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes difficult because I'm part of it and I'm fighting against it. But it's kind of what I do, and it's kind of difficult. And I mean, I sometimes think that abroad, and I think that's what you want to hear also if I see how
well, I don't hear anything.
You push me in the corner.
I wonder.
No, I think it is so that for people who don't have 150 years of dogmatic education behind them, for them it is more easy to see work which is not embedded in modernism so much as other work. I remember that. How was this again? Yeah, it's like. I remember this is like 8 years ago or so. I was in Moscow and there's all these girls and fancy high heels.
Yeah, very high heels. Yeah.
Everything's wonderful. And I'm like, they're just like Barbie dolls. I mean, this is their vision of life, right? I mean, this is who they want
That's
to become.
That's the best it can get.
Yeah, and I'm going home and there's my daughter and she's like 7 and she wants to be a Barbie also. Like, what the fuck was it? So it's kind of a bit like that. I mean, and I will make sure that my daughter doesn't end up that way, right? Because I will tell her to have a completely different mindset. So she's educated in a kind of logic of where we want within this culture to be. And other people have completely different mindset, different logic, different rules, and so they will end up in a different way, and they will look at the world in a different way.
It's funny you say I'm a modernist myself. I mean, I can't help it because it's in our system, but still I also try to fight it. Could you? What are your instruments? What are your weapons you use for trying to fight the cage that we're all in because we have been founded on these principles?
Yeah, I think there's a few real important dogmas in modernism. Form is one, function is one. Let me think. Yeah, well, I think there's a few of these dogmas which I think I'm trying to fight in my own way. I think another really important reason why modernism is so not in place is because we really need a more sustainable world. And I think modernism is anti-sustainable. It is really the enemy of our future. So I think it's something we all should start to understand. It's in our genes, and we have to fight it.
Is this a change that you were referring to earlier in our conversation? Is the transition that we're in, or the last 5 years, something has happened also within design? Is this?
Yeah, it's part of it.
Are we trying to grab this issue of modernism and how actually it's our enemy, or not completely?
No,
trying to understand you.
No, I don't know. I see. No, it's a bit bigger even.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I see. I see that the crowd is changed. I mean, it's not even. I think that designers used to be people like me who make chairs, and you start to see that design. We have proclaimed that design is a bigger universe of thought, of creative thought, and it starts to function that way. So you start to see that people really work on different type solutions and with different opportunities. They, in different networks. I mean, there's so many problems we have been facing over the last years, whether it is about communication, or it is about intellectual property rights, or it is about the iconic statues of individuals. I mean, all these elements, they are being bombarded at the moment, and that's a wonderful new thing. That's a great new thing. And it's frightening, of course, but it's wonderful. And I think that's happening now. And it's super interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And still, may I still try to link it? You don't think there is a link with the other issue of our old discourse, and that we're not finding a way out of modernism because it's not going to help us?
Well,
or is it too far-fetched?
No, I think. I mean, I think all people. Our world is always trying to go back to modernism, because within design, that's where we feel happy and safe, because our clients are happy with that kind of thinking, right? Things are organized, things are rational, we can, understand them. So we will always be drawn back to that. Yeah. I mean, how many times I haven't seen, we go back to minimalism and rationalism in magazines. It's like endless, and so we will, it's interesting. If theater isn't modern, it is beyond that.
Yeah.
Art is beyond it. Fashion is beyond it. All the arts are beyond it, but design keeps being pulled back in modernism for this very reason. I think postmodernism is anti-modernism, so it's important, but ultimately unimportant. So the question is only what is behind, postmodernism. And I think, you start to slowly see something positive and new instead of something negative and new. Something negative, no, but like critical and new. You start to see something positive and new, and that's wonderful. And I think that's something we all have to, acknowledge and see and support. And there's a lot of mistakes being made. But that's wonderful. I mean, they're all mutants creating a new equilibrium, which is, I think, exactly what has to happen today. I think there's a lot of young people here, so it's it's for you. It's great. It's a very exciting time.
Okay. Later on, we're also going to join Sander. But first, I was wondering, what's your role in this? Because later on, we will discuss how future generations or current generations can influence. But how do you pick this up? This momentum of what you see around you and this response, even.
Well, I think we are. We are since I have my studio. I have this kind of logic with which we work. We have a philosophy based on which we do our things. I have the studio is built on the idea that if you create things which are showing respect for our surrounding and they show our respect for time and we value as well the future as also the past. We value both these entities and we bring them to life. So we don't try to make new things. We try to make things forever. We try to make things which, they're hard to typecast when they're made because they're just made and they're just great. We try to make things which show our love and respect for these pieces in the hope that that's recognizable for others. We try to make things which are individual, which we love. And maybe someone else doesn't, but at least they are loved by us. We really care for them. We just give it our all to make these things. I mean, that in the light of design, I think is maybe a little bit special, but almost normal. It's what design is. I mean, there's not one designer who tries to make a sloppy product quickly and make a buck. It's not what designers do. I mean, but don't forget that we are living in a world where still probably 90% of objects are done that way. So we have a very important role in society to communicate our love for our surrounding and to show how important it is because we have a surrounding, because it's a mirror to ourselves. I mean, we collect objects, we collect people, we collect everything around us to tell us who we are. If we collect a lot of crap around us, then it's going to be who we are. So I think it's extremely important, our little part of that big pizza of the world.
But isn't this approach that you're saying about how you work and also how other designers work, wouldn't you say that is also part of the momentum currently? Or is it too optimistic? You don't think that this...
No. I think this is something, this is something which I think I've been doing since 1995 or so. I've been pushing in that direction. And in 1995 I wrote a little book with 10 insights about my work. And they are about communication, they're about sharing, they're about what people need, what are the needs of people, they are about archetypes and how we can make things which can be understood. They are about how we have disrespect for the past and how we should create a world which is in balance with the past and in respect with the past. I mean, all these kind of
It's funny because it almost sounds like sustainability, which wasn't a big thing.
Well, sustainability was not the word.
Yeah.
We talked about durability.
Oh, okay.
Durability was, there was a group of people. They were called Eternally Yours, and it was not. Of course, there was. The Kyoto was done. But it was for us. The reason was we wanted to make objects which would be important for people forever. And of course that had an ecological context. But I think more than that, it was important for us to make objects which are really meaningful, really would, be there forever. And of course they were made from good materials, and of course you could recycle them if it was necessary, and of course. And so this group was called Eternally Yours. And then there was, it was wonderful. I think 90% of the people in this group were from the TU Delft, so very technocratic and engineering and wonderful ideas. And of course I used a lot of these ideas which I learned there. And then, but I was not an engineer, I'm a poet, I'm a magician, I can do different things. And so, and then at some point there was this girl, she was from Eindhoven, and she made a piece of velvet, and if that would wear off on the corners, under the green or blue would arise a flowery pattern. And that was so wonderful. So wonderful, and everybody was so excited about it because it was really good. But I was thinking, like, what are we really seeing here? What is she really saying to us? She's saying to us that if velvet wears off in a normal way, that's not good. That's not good. And I understood that besides that we have a material problem, we have a psychological problem, which is way bigger.
Yes.
And I understood that, that is the substance I want to address. Because that's the stuff. I'm not an engineer. I'm someone who, who speaks to people about, about philosophy, about ideas, of how they can live their lives in a more ecological thinking way. And so I made that kind of a subject for one of the subjects of my work.
And this way of thinking, this is something you're doing. You also mentioned that it's also in the heart of how design should be and how designers work. Do you see this in other designers in the Netherlands? This approach among your peers? Is it something which we can call?
Well, it's hard to, I think if you, for just to go back to this stack of magazines, go back to 1995 and just see the difference. I mean, there's a fantastic difference. This is not my responsibility, but there's a huge difference between what today we dream up and what in 1995, that's like too long ago, 19 years ago, we dreamed up. Yeah. There's a fantastic difference, and that's, and I think there's a lot more. I mean, design is not so new-oriented as it used to be. It's not so radically modernistic as it used to be. I mean, we've done a lot. I think, if you see what we do in experimental terms, then already we did super much. But in reality, in the real world, where people buy their stuff, we hardly did anything. But and that's where we really should work.
Okay,
that's where we make
so let's start brainstorming or let's start thinking about this, because it helps when it gets recognized, when there's a label around it, right? I mean, then it's more easy for people to understand and to maybe for the industry to sell it. I would like to bridge it to, you say yourself 1995 Dutch Design. I mean, that was a very handy label and a very useful approach to conquer the world, right? I mean, or wasn't it? Wasn't it nice to have this correlation between work and then we call it Dutch design and off we went?
Yeah, but
no?
we invented what I called at that point virtual design.
Virtual design.
Virtual design. We made prototypes and we photographed them as if they were real. Yeah. We invented Photoshop so we could, make them perfect. Theoretically, we showed prototypes as if they were real. I mean, here and there, someone made an object, put it in a gallery, but there was not a business model behind. There was not. I mean, and really, nobody cared because nobody wanted to buy these things. And I think I say that in a kind of simple way, but I think it was a great invention, which still today we use every day. Yeah. Because the wonderful thing is that design has a great potential in immaterial communication. It's wonderful. I mean, what we can say with, what an artist can say with his artwork, goes over the world without, just with, immaterial. What design, since it discovered its capacity to transcend materiality, can say all over the world is like fabulous. I mean, why would you, carry the weight of machines and material if you can say what you want to say without? I mean, an ultimate object, you measure the value of it not by keeping it in your hand and looking at it. You value it by looking in the hearts and heads of people. But if it's there and it's valuable there, then it's something. And if it's not there, then it's nothing. So, I mean, how many people go through Eigenhuis Interieur? How many people go there to buy a sofa? No one. People don't go to magazines to buy sofas. I mean, it's not that way. They go there because they want to understand where time is. They want to understand themselves. They want to be inspired, excited. They want to breathe new air. And that's what design can do also in a virtual environment. So it's wonderful. I think it's been a great opportunity for design. And I think, the generations after have been exploiting this massively, to the extent that, our normal companies are suffering from it because they look very boring. I mean, design companies look really boring because all the design blogs show only great virtual stuff. Yeah, it's really difficult for companies these days.
We're here at a very beautiful evening at the Dutch Design Week. How's Dutch design doing currently, in general? What do you think?
I have no idea. I think.
Do you follow it? I mean, you're so busy internationally. Is it something you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not high on my agenda to make small boxes out of big boxes. I mean, the design is design, and it's. I think it's. I mean, I sold my heart to design. I love every bit of it, and I love to read about it. And I love to see new people who are just as excited as myself. You know, I feel the connection I feel with family or more. You know, so I love everything about it. But I love the Koreans just as much as the South Africans and the Dutch. So it's not that I mean, I love it if people give what really is themselves, right? I love to recognize the people in the work and the other way around. I don't think that Dutch design is better than design elsewhere. I think that Dutch design is very unique. It's got a very unique approach, and it's. I think we are doing just an amazing job as a group. I mean, I have to say, and there's no place in the world where I come where that is not recognized, and that's not since a year. That's a super long period of time already. So I think we are doing a very unique and special job.
Okay, that's nice. Shall we?
And we have a lot to do.
A lot to do.
Yeah, because I think there's
What's on the agenda?
Well, I think if you talk about Dutch design, I think we're great in a very small part of our capacity, and we're really not so good in different areas of what design can do for the world. I think there we could really be so much better. I think.
Shall we have? We picked two people who were nominated for the Dutch Design Awards last Saturday. I will introduce one of them, then we'll discuss it, and then the second one. And let's see if their agenda is the agenda that hopefully is going to work out. Let's first have a look at the work of designer Lex Potts. It's characterized by a process-based approach to sturdy materials such as wood, metal, and stone. And in his designs, he pairs these raw materials to their essential nature, showing the various stages that the material goes through while being processed. I thought we were going to see it. Oh, I have to do it myself. First I have to, there it is. So here is the work of Lex Potts, who was nominated for his oeuvre last Saturday at the Dutch Design Awards. Is this something, shall we watch it again? Wrong one. You said something about materials and how you learned to work with them.
Yeah, I think it's what's more important than anything else. That I think is wonderful. I mean, design is an art form which expresses individuals, and I think it's really completely not necessary that I have a negative opinion about anyone, because that would be really, besides the point. I mean, it would be wonderful if I don't get it and I can learn from it. I'm interested in it. I think it's this work. I mean, as far as I know it, it's really interesting because it is really material based in a society which is going away from material more and more. And I think maybe it's wonderful that someone's doing this investigation. I think a lot of them have been done, maybe, but not today. So
no, but it's interesting when it comes to agenda. I mean, you also earlier we were discussing the transition we're in and the challenges. One of the challenges is that we have a lack of fossils. Well, I mean, some of materials in this world are getting harder and harder to fetch and to get. So that's an interesting topic then to explore, no?
Well, the great thing about this image, for instance, is that it shows so much versatility in one material. That's a beautiful way to look at it. I think if you see the little cabinet, it shows how determined you can be in working with the trunk of a tree and to express this kind of linear quality in form. I mean, it's all maybe a bit academic and maybe a bit, yeah, maybe it doesn't speak to me personally so much, but I think it's an investigation which I can value.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's have a look to the other nominee and also winner, by the way, of the Dutch Design Awards. I will first announce it and then yeah, exactly. Human growth has become a synonym for our Western welfare society, but is it sustainable in the long term? With the incredible shrinking man, Arne Hendricks investigates what the impact on the world would be if people would only be 50 centimeters tall. More people would fit on the same surface and could manage with less food, that's for sure. Here we go. These are some pictures of the... yeah, there we are, 50 centimeters, so, well, almost as big as a how's it called, a chicken or a peacock? No, not a peacock, sorry. Yeah, here we are. Smaller, so therefore, less water, less food. Great idea, no? This is something you were discussing, right? I mean, how design can...
Yeah. I think it is a great example of what I think we can do really well in Holland, and what the Dutch design really is able to do. It's very much able to communicate fabulous ideas and to really inspire the thinking of great amounts of people. And I think that's really valuable. I mean, this is a good example of maybe virtual design. I mean, it's recreating an idea. And I think it's reinventing humankind. So I think it's wonderful. And I think if that's our contribution on a national scale, I mean, this kind of things, then that's wonderful. But I think we can do better.
You're so ambitious.
Yeah, I think
we're not even doing enough.
Yeah, see, I think if a person decides that's what I'm doing, that's what I'm here for, then I can dig that.
Yeah.
I can understand that. But I think on a national scale, I think we should have a higher standard for ourselves.
Okay.
I would hope, and I think it's also because I think we all value this kind of ideas, right? We love this. But in ourselves, in our souls, there's this kind of fundamentalists, right? We are, all of us, we're a bit like fundamentalists, right? We like it this way and not another way. So we really keep the pond very small. And if someone doesn't fit in that pond, it's a little bit difficult to digest for us. And so we don't have, or we don't have the ambition to really, step out of the conceptual level to go into a reality level. I think that's something that's a pity. I mean, it's just. I mean, maybe tomorrow it will change. Because I think and maybe there is more great examples which we hardly know of because we're not writing about it, we're not so excited about it. Maybe there's more which we don't even know. But I would think that's something which I would hope we would push up and we would support.
Okay. Well, we're almost going to be joined by our second guest tonight, but before we are going to put this very ambitious agenda also for our conversation for the second part of this evening, you're really good in execution. I mean, you really found a way to execute your ideas and also abroad to find an audience for that. So could you help us out here, now that we're here together this evening anyway, how do we can make this ambitions plan become real? I mean, you found some tools to actually make it work for yourself, for your own work. Could you elaborate that maybe on people with other practices or maybe make it more holistic? But what are some of the keys there?
Well, I think there's a few things I can say about it. I mean, when I think design is a big box by now. There's a lot of people with different agendas inside, and that's wonderful. Design used to be a place where people are who like to make water kettles, right, and heating, whatever. Today, design goes from completely abstract philosophy over limited productions to little companies to super high-end, high-tech activities.
Yeah.
Right?
So it spans everything.
It's all there.
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful if all these places are there, and I would invite everybody to pick his own place. But if you're in this area where you want to reach, the world in a material way, and you work with companies, which is the original basis of design, and it's a place which is still, I think, very valid for design.
Sure.
Then I think it's really important that you go there because you love to be there, and you love to work together with companies, and you love to work together to make something realizable, tangible. I've liked this area besides the other areas, and when I was in that area, I've always tried to be at two sides of the table simultaneously. I've tried to always sell what I want to buy.
Okay, yeah. You sell it to yourself.
I want to sell it because I would think I would buy it.
Uh-huh.
And I've pushed myself to the level that I really did. Because I really want to be true and honest and straightforward and real.
Uh-huh.
So after making products, I set up my own company, Mooi, for sitting at the other side of the table and realizing the dreams of designers.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
after doing this for a while in interior design, I now have a hotel of my own. So we design it really within the fundamentals of our philosophy, and we also buy it from ourselves.
So you become co-responsible for your own...
I am completely responsible for what I'm selling to someone.
Yeah.
And I take responsibility, because it's not some bullshit story. I'm not selling him my dream, and I hope he can just live with it. I'm trying to make something which is really great for the company, really great for the audience, and also great for us. And that's something which I think it's something in that middle area you have to work that way to create success for companies. Because besides opportunities, it's also responsibility. I mean, there's people working in that company you work for, and they are not going for a holiday. They lose their job if you don't do well. If you don't do well. So it's like it's important, right? Yeah. Okay. I want to say something else. Yeah, I forgot.
We have another hour, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's time for our second guest. We stay put, because we're first going to watch a little clip about him, then I will introduce him, and then we will go to the chairs over there. So please seat it, and let's have an introduction to our second guest. That's something I couldn't do, I think. Right, technique? Here we go.
We tried to make a sort of a new brand, made in Dashilar. We went to the shoe markets and we found lots of shoes for 2 till 5 euro. And we used this as a raw material for making new shoes. The Nair, well, this is, I think, a very nice, nice shoe, because I cannot get it in Holland, so for me it's a keeper. I'm not going to cut this one. We cut up a lot of shoes and then we put them back together. Yeah, create interesting new shoes. We were searching for shoemakers in Dashilar, and actually we found one shoemaker or repairman on the street. We asked him to come here and do the same thing here in the shop. It's very important that you're on the same level, that you're both also the maker, because I think making is also a universal language. How do we make this shoe? How do we put it together? I mean, this is a good connector.
Yeah. So you already saw him. Yeah, please give applause for the video. I will introduce him also with his text, and then he will come on stage together with Marcel over there. Sander Wansink is an artist and designer who encourages us to reconsider our ideas of beauty and aesthetic value. How can we reconsider what is important and what is desirable to include notions of history, memory, and the preservation of a past which is slipping away? Amid new construction, new production, and constant proliferation of new forms and facades, sounds like what we discussed, Wansink turns his attention to the discarded, the abandoned, the leftover, and attempts to reimagine what can be done with the already partially formed. What new possibilities exist in the surfaces and materials that are half-built or half-destroyed? Whether his object is the partly demolished facade of an abandoned building, or the everyday detritus from our overproductive culture, Wassink asks what new forms and new visions of beauty already exist to be discovered and appreciated. Sander Wassink, please join the stage. Kom erbij.
Yeah.
Let's sit in the middle, and then Marcel, you can sit over there.
Okay.
This side?
Yeah.
Hi.
So,
It's a long text, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful text. It's a well-crafted text, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't make it myself.
You made it yourself?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay. Well, you gave the input, and then somebody makes something. You two met in Beijing a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, very short, yeah.
How did that went?
Well,
You were there?
I went to Marcel and I gave him a hand and he said, "Hey, Sander," because of course this was already
Such an incredible story.
in the planning. Yeah.
What were you doing in Beijing?
I got asked by the Salon, it's an Amsterdam organization, to participate in Beijing Design Week. And the Salon asks designers who work in a process way. And that's what I also do.
Yeah, okay.
So, and this project I did, what you saw with the shoes, I did in Beijing.
Yeah, okay. So this was part of what you were doing in Beijing 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Marcel, what were you doing in Beijing?
There was a big design fair, and Amsterdam was kind of a befriended city of Beijing.
Yeah.
And so they asked me to be a kind of a spokesman for the design community and for Amsterdam. And so I just went there.
Okay.
And we made a little presentation of some of the works we do.
Okay. And you two shortly met because you knew you were going to have a gig tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, the opportunity was there to talk. Yeah,
Okay.
shortly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Marcel, why was it so exciting for you to make part of this evening also a discussion together with Sander about his work, about your vision yourself? Why was it interesting to have this set up?
Well, I think I thought it was really nice to make a conversation with someone of a different generation. Mm-hmm. We checked out a few names which we liked, and I thought this could be a really interesting talk. So I admire some of the work of Sander, and so it's wonderful to chat a bit. I think it could be meaningful.
Well, because there's a huge agenda we have, according to you. So let's see if Sander...
A good talk is always about what we both like and what we really don't like of each other. So let's see where we can find it.
Okay. Well, so there you heard Marcel in the last hour.
Yeah.
What really struck you on the positive? We can discuss both things, the positive and negative sides. But
now the one thing I really
let's pick this topic.
Yeah, I really agree on, and which I still think is still going on, is the virtual design.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the term you gave to it, but I think we create virtual ideas constantly, but we still haven't found a way to sell these virtual ideas. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people make this virtual design, but they still have the idea that they, in the end, have to sell a product with this virtual idea.
Yeah.
And I think it would be nice to think of systems that we could, get some maybe money for these virtual ideas. So just let's be honest to each other as young designers. It happens more and more. We make virtual ideas, and how are the magazines or the blogs? How are they going to work together with us? And not just all take everything and show everything. Mm-hmm.
So. What do you think of what Marcel was saying about when it comes to? We also discussed how can we actually execute ideas? How can we get started when it comes to not being virtual or being real, making this real difference?
What do you mean by making the virtual real?
Yes, so you don't want to stay virtual. You want to make a difference. You want to become it real.
Yeah, I think there's also a big potential in making actually virtual.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Because but it has to be different in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the wonderful thing about, again, 30, 40 years ago, a designer was someone who made a simple product for production, and was almost an engineering activity, the water kettle of the 50s, 60s. I think we've been getting more and more areas of where we are able to express ourselves. Whether it is in kind of signature furniture, whether it's in limited editions, whether it is in just virtual design, whether it is in high-tech, innovative lab constructions, and all these areas are play our territory, which is great. And then I think it's just wonderful if we don't forget that in the center is at least the core meaning of design, to create a world which is better for our surrounding. And we need all these things, and it's wonderful what's happening, but it doesn't mean that this middle area we should forget because it's not so interesting. I think there is still an important responsibility which we have. And I'm happy to hear that you feel that also. I mean, it's great to do these experiments. It would be wonderful if we could move them over and to really make them work for millions of people.
Yeah.
No, I think it's again. Sometimes we forget because we really love the excitement and the brightness of these sparkling ideas, and it's really sometimes in a way a bit more boring in the center. But it's also really important that we give our love there.
No, I totally agree with that. But I personally, I've chosen, I think, with a lot of other people now, to take sort of a different route. Because the other route is, I don't know, for me now not fulfilling and not interesting. And I think I see a lot of people, young people around me who do design who have the same problem.
Yeah.
And that is like, what am I gonna make? What am I gonna do? How do I want my life to look like in 10 years? And some people manage to really do something with that, and other people stay inside of the school system now and just do what is being asked for them. And I really like to see that some people get out of there and first start with small sparkling ideas, but then also bring it further into something. Because I think you cannot immediately be in the core. I think you have to start somewhere. And
yeah, you think so? You can't go straight for the...
What I did with the shoes, I really, for me, this is now my, it was exciting to do, and also something, new. I didn't know I could do it like that. But I hope, that I could go in many different directions, but I hope that I could work also with some bigger companies on maybe, working on this idea.
But why not?
Yeah, but I think I first have to do something like that.
Yeah.
Before it will happen, because if I will go to them and say, listen, I have this idea and I'm gonna cut up the fake shoes, and then they will say,
great,
and now it's like I did this, and that's amazing about the virtual design. I did this project in 5 days actually. So I was in the plane. I was not sure what am I gonna do, but I had, of course, a lot of things you have been thinking about through the years and through the travel I've been before in China, and then intuitively it comes all together at this moment. So that's very nice. But I lost a little bit my point, what I wanted to say.
Okay, we'll get back to it later. I mean, it's fine. Or you already know?
Yeah, that I really like the fact that in 5 days you can make such a virtual design or design idea, and then 10 years later now, I meet a lot of people and say, I see your project on the internet and on the... and so I think it's 15 days. It's like you create a start. And now people say, okay, maybe you can work with...
So, but that gives you 350 days to work on realizing something which really makes a tangible difference in the world. So I think it's wonderful that we found this kind of fast sparkles and this really wonderful way to give our bright ideas, but I think it's not enough. I think, again, and I think it needs us to be more connected to... I mean, I think if you're not drinking a beer with a guy who makes shoes, you're not going to understand his language, and you're not going to make something together, which is really a new step. I think we have to be more connected to business, to the people who realize stuff. Because if we can really create sparkles inside the minds of business owners, if we can really excite them for brilliant ideas, if we can show them that what they do is not what they could do tomorrow, is something which really is going to change the world, which is really good for the world, and is going to make them feel safe also, then they have no other way as to help us realize it.
But
there are always ways.
But isn't it also, because it's interesting what Sander says, I mean, thanks to the internet and social media, it's so easy to reach out to people and make a success or make an impact. Doesn't it also help them to get businesses on board? Because before it was, it went viral, or there were so many people already reached.
I mean, a lot of the virtual design which we speak about is inspiring us.
Yeah.
They're like, we make it for each other, and we make it for a group of people who are, consciously active in this area of the new world, But it was always surprising to me that, if I talk to Alessi or Cappellini or these guys, I mean, they were never at the Druk Design exhibition. Maybe they saw it later in a magazine, but they had no idea what it was about. So we speak a lot to ourselves, which is wonderful, but, because that's an informative discussion which we need. But we have to take it outside our core. Okay. We have to bring it outside the box, because nobody comes visits this box. Yeah. It's our box. We love to live here because and we love our language because we understand each other really well. But if there's someone from outside our box in our box, we kick him out before he knows it. It's really. I mean,
is it something you agree? You recognize this?
Yeah, I think.
Do you feel this need also to address it like Marcel does?
No, I agree with that, of course, because I think when you make an idea, a small idea, I think you should get, and I wouldn't call it the box, I would call it out of the stage of being naive. And I think that happens a lot still. And then these ideas being used as a PR for either, I don't know, an organization, like, not the Dutch Design Week, I would say, other organization or a company. And I think that's really for me, the hard point to see now, that a lot of times we get used purely as PR. Yeah. And so I think that's also the test for the designers, but also for the organizations around it, like the schools, to go beyond this and, create
but it's interesting, because I think if you, for instance, go to other countries, let's go to the United States. I mean, I think the same room sits with the same kind of people. They're excited about the same, existence of the new world, and they think about new things and so. But they would see their virtual design and then not publish it in some magazine or blog, but they would like to have it between crowdfunding organizations, right? So we love our little box. We love it. Yeah. And again, I love the box, but it cannot be enough. I mean, this is not something new. I've been fighting this longer. We created now in Amsterdam a school which is called Think, without the I. And it's really a school, where we collect creatives and we collect business people, and we teach them each other's skills, to make sure they start to speak. They start to have, a beer together, and they just have fun. They start to, and so you start to see that, interesting ideas, they cannot live with all the rules. So as soon as you have a great idea, you have to also commit to changing the rules. And you have to maybe also commit to changing, together with the business people, the business model. And that's really interesting, because that's way more fun than chairs. So it's only a great thing. Yeah. It's wonderful. And if these business people are open to us, and they are, then we can do wonderful things together.
He's an activist.
No, I really like it. I spilled a little bit of water here, but I really like this idea. But it's still, I see it is not there yet for a lot of people, and it's maybe there for you and for a lot of other people. But I think for us, in my situation, we just have to do it ourselves. And maybe, hopefully, it's going to be there sooner. That people being taken more seriously.
But what's the potential for you? Because you say yourself you're into the process, you're also into changes of the system, systemic changes. Is that something where it's easy to get out of your comfort zone and get these people like the industry aboard?
I don't know. I will see. I really don't know.
What are the responses, or what do you feel? How do you think it links to the transition that we were discussing earlier?
What do you mean? The project I did?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a project I did, and I think it will. A lot of things will happen now from that, and in a lot of different directions. And there's where I'm going to react on again. And I'm now talking to people about that. And I don't know. I would hope, you know, that we could create more sort of, because okay, I can talk a little bit about this the project,
Yeah,
because
sure.
what I did there is not only about locality, because there are a lot of projects only about locality.
Yep.
But it's something for me also a little bit more international, and that is like young designers trying to create their own products in their own house. Like there's a name for it, maybe you know, self-production, self-production.
Yeah. Okay.
And that I see a lot, and I think. I think it's a little bit. That's a little bit naive way of doing it.
Because that's a skill. That's something which is not going to make a change, or
no. And it's
in which way is it naive?
It's very not competing with anything.
Okay.
So what you will get in the end is very expensive product for one house or two houses. And I think if we could combine this self-production with a larger sort of a system,
Yeah. Okay.
then we could, you know,
Then we're
maybe
talking.
making a change, yes. But we're not really cooperating in that way.
Yeah.
And I think there is also sort of a, you know.
Yeah, Marcel?
I
That's
think
interesting,
it-
huh?
I
That's
think-
part of
no,
the
I think it's-
agenda.
I think it's always been that way. I mean, we had before my generation, there was a generation of the zelf-producerende ontwerpers.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Bruno
Self-producing.
Nienaber and Hans Ebbing, and then Richard Hutt is having his own production all the time. You know, it's always been there, and
Yeah.
it's always going to be there, and it's a great system. It will. I mean, there's always been all kinds of people who are against it because you don't use the capacity of the industry. I think they can live next to each other. I think it's wonderful if people take charge of their own production. But I think, I think you're too great a designer, and with you, so many people here, that you know, I cannot hear you say, yeah, well, these things, they're not there for me yet because you know, yeah, we're not seen yet. Because I think, I mean, it's not that you're not. I think if you want to be seen, you have to first see, right? I mean, if you want to be loved, you need to love more. I mean, what you send, you receive. I mean, it's some thick book somewhere. I read it. I mean, and
I think we can picture it.
And it's you know it's one of the few things in the book which is not so bad, in fact. I think if you start talking to people in shoe business, you start to understand their problem, their opportunities. And and if then, you know, it starts to bumble in your brain and you get all these sparkling ideas, then suddenly maybe it resonates with someone else. And I understand your philosophy is not about shoes. Your philosophy, you know, you don't care about shoes. You care about, you know, how we deal with products. But of course, I mean, it's for a shoe guy, it's really difficult to understand what to do with your idea. So it's not done, you know. So with your idea, you could go to any other factory, any other company making products, and start to talk. And I think it's not that you cannot wait for them. I mean, of course, you need people who are a bit open and open-minded and interested. But they're around, and yeah, I think they are findable. But I think besides that, people should listen to us. I think it always starts with listening to them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I think also now this time will come that I will go talk to people. But I think first maybe your own box is maybe sometimes important without letting people in.
Of course, yeah.
Because you have to be very self-confident to, you know, keep your idea vivid without with having people inside this box who are like.
No, you have to know what you can give, otherwise, you know. Yeah, that's true, of course.
But you were saying something interesting. You say, well, I'm trying to follow my roots, but also in a collaborative way. That's something also you mentioned.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate a bit on this approach that you have now at the moment in your work, but also in the collaboration that you're looking for?
Yeah, well, I like to. I don't need to be the designer of these shoes. That's not the point.
No.
But I like to think of how could we make this system work in such a way that, you know, all the parties included are, you know, happy with that and benefiting from that. And mostly that because it's about China also, and China is a country which is very much searching for sort of a Western ideal still, and you see it everywhere. And I think I think it's also nice to show, like, we cut all these fake Nikes and we make just something which is a brand actually from there. And yeah, I like to find a system, and I hope we can continue on it to make this actually work. And I hope sometime a company will step in and say, okay, maybe we can think of something that you will actually use our brands to incorporate it in this idea. And then you have the brand, the big brand, then you have the maker, and then you have the designer. And so you don't have one designer who creates a product for, all around the world, but you have a sort of a collective brand, like maybe it's a sort of a franchise in which you have the designer, the maker, and the global industry who makes just quality products, so quality parts maybe for the shoe.
Is this interesting? Is this a bit like the same, like what Marcel mentioned? You have to buy your own stuff. Like, hey, you have your own hotel with your own vision to be at the other side of the table. It sounds a bit like, is that the same? But still, it touches upon the same issues. No?
I don't know.
No? What do you think, Marcel? Does it sound a bit like what you meant when?
No, I think it sounds really different.
I'm missing the boat. Okay.
Yeah, I think you missed the boat.
Oh, okay. I thought I did. Okay. Okay. Well, next topic. No, but still, I'm going to push it because I think there is a link. You said we have to be co-responsible for our thinking, co-responsible for the issues we take up. And you say, well, I don't have to make it myself, but I want to be part of a system where everybody is in or her place and create something.
Yeah, well, I think 5 years now. Yeah, 5 years ago we started a collaboration. It's in Eindhoven, and it really changed my mind a bit how to think in design, because we just started like working together nicely. We got invited by some people, or by one person, and on a certain moment we find out if we really want to do it well, we have to really do everything together. So everybody's equal in this collective, and this really changed my whole idea about making and creating. So placing the individual next to the collective in a sort of a different way. So the individual has to stay very important always, but the collective is there to.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is this something you can relate to in how you approach things?
Yeah, I think it's one of the. It's one of the things I see happening with myself also. I think design is a humanistic activity. It's something which is a very personal thing. I don't make the best things in the world, but I make my things. I think there's other forces in the industry which want the consumer to design themselves. Fine, I don't have to help them. I think that's organizations which are being created by non-designers. I think we designers have to give value which we can give. And sometimes we can invite people, but we give our own values. I see that the way we give this, the way I, for instance, organize my studio, we more and more work on a less personal level, but on a kind of objective level. More and more, we find ways to implement a kind of bigger thinking inside our activity, and that's, I think, something which is really, really great. It's really wonderful. It's a beautiful thing to share design, not only to be only the only one who has to decide everything. So that is changing in the studio also, and that's a wonderful thing.
Okay, what's the value that you are trying to work on? Is there a value? Do you?
Yeah, you're talking specifically about.
As a designer, yeah, do you have certain values you find important to address?
I like to stay really honest to how I feel myself and how I want to live my life, and I just see around the world a lot of things happening and changing and being maybe not so good, and I want to stay honest to that. I don't want to lie to myself and start doing something different. And that's why I also said to myself, actually, before I went to China, okay, I'm going to try for half a year to do this. Having my own studio now for half a year with an intern, and then in January I'm just going to see, because maybe I'm going to do something else, or it's just. And I like to have this openness, and that I can change every time. And it's also because I'm maybe young, but I think that keeps me also maybe honest to myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
We both ask you to give 2 examples of something you find inspiring, which you see
You
in
asked
your work.
5.
Okay, but we only had time for 2.
Yeah.
And can we start with the clip, with the movie clip first, because this is a nice bridge to what you have just been saying. So I'm not sure if that's already the first slide, but the first clip that we prepared. Here it comes. Because you were saying something about honesty and about communication and.
Welcome to the Hans Brinker Budget Hotel, Amsterdam. A hotel whose lack of services and features makes it the most accidentally eco-friendly hotel on the planet. This eco-commitment begins in the lobby. To lessen our impact on the environment, staff do as little as possible for guests. An eco-elevator ensures that the only energy spent going to the room is your own. Take a look around the Hans Brinker Eco Suite. To conserve space and energy, up to 7 guests can sleep in a single room. Telephone and 24-hour room service, minibar, satellite TV, just a few expenses our hotel is prepared to avoid to save our planet. Eco lighting, yet another feature. Every suite comes with a carbon-neutral eco-climate control system. It's also easy to use.
Is that the honesty you're looking for?
Yeah, I think this is from Kessel's Kramer. I think this is for me the most amazing advertising campaign ever made. And I think for a lot of people, I think a lot of people know it.
It was quite effective, wasn't it? It actually got more customers.
It was very effective, and what they also said, nobody complained anymore because they knew what.
Well, it's hard to complain after this, right?
Yeah. So and they have this is the most cleanest one, but they have really dirty ones. Like there's a pillow which is like full of grease, and then they turn it around, and then they say, I don't know, but we do the best for you at least.
Yeah. But it was not appropriate to watch during this evening, right? It was too early to show.
No, for me it was appropriate.
Okay.
But I think this is, I did advertising before, and I mix media a lot of times in my work, and I think this for me really opened my eyes that that they could make such a commercial for a company, for a hotel, and that it actually could work. And I think this is what I really, really like, and opposing all the other commercials which are like showing a fake reality or a hyper reality, and yeah.
Okay. Is it a great campaign for your hotel, Marcel? Hotel Atlas? Is it that good?
Well, I think it's, I'm super excited about design, and I think it's a great thing. But sometimes, if I'm not so sure about it, I understand that we are just a bunch of liars. That we're just, always lying about what we really do. There's very few people in this world, I'm not talking in this room, but in this world of design, who make plastic objects look like black, drippery, glossy oil objects, which last short time. I mean, we are, in a way, selling, our clients, and our clients really want to look better than they are, and so it is. I mean, this reminds me of it. I mean, this is funny, because it's a small company. If 15 companies do it, it doesn't work anymore. So it works as an incident. But the other energy works as a general rule.
Yeah.
And it's something which worries me. And it makes me sometimes sad about design. And it makes me, if I said that you get older, you get, maybe sometimes you doubt a few things, and this is one of them. Because we do wonderful things, but also we're part of a machine which is just constantly lying. And the more we lie, the better we are. So it's double also. There's a pain there which could grow. So it's not only funny. It's also a bit sad.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. And do you? How do you approach this in your own work, Sander? This honesty or this lying that Marcel tries to address? Are we all liars?
I don't know.
No?
I try not to be, but of course I'm also lying a lot of times.
Well, I think the best we can do is be white liars. Because I think, I mean, if the brothers Grimm would have read the news, then we wouldn't know them, right? I mean, so we are telling stories, and we have to. It's our job, you know. So we have to lie, but at least, you know, we have to consciously lie and make white lies, you know, lie for the better. Yeah. Lie with respect for our audience. Lie because, you know, we are 180% loyal. And that's why we are allowed lying, because we are liars.
It's interesting. How do you approach this? Because storytelling is also important within how you approach your work, right? I mean, or that's how I get it. Yeah. Is that something, how do you approach this? Is storytelling an interesting part of your approach of your work? Or do you
No, I don't really tell a straight story.
A straight story?
Not a straight story, like a story maybe in different layers or different levels.
Yeah,
I try to. So people can approach it also in their own way.
Yeah, okay.
So,
could you give an example? Could you help us a bit?
Because when you talk about the chairs I make, or one chair, people can just like it as an image, and they can see an animal in it, or that's very nice. I like that. That's also a part of you know, who we are as humans to have this. But you can also approach it to a much more conceptual level, which is also in there, and then you can use it as a conversation starter. And therefore this project I did is really not, for me it was a very personal project.
No, but like if you make a pop-up store in Beijing, I mean, it's not a real pop-up store, but looking with that eye to it, it makes you understand what is the vision behind it. So I think it's kind of a fantasy you create, and if we all just are in line believing it, then it works. If we just like, oh, this is not a pop-up store, you fucking crazy, it doesn't work. So it's like, you help us understand your vision, and so that's what we do all the time. I mean, we are doing that all the time. I mean, I don't think his really intention is to sell 500,000 of, you know, cut-down shoes and so, but you know, it's asking us to think about a certain proposition, and so it is a kind of a little lie.
Yeah, it's a little lie.
But it's wonderful. I mean, we need that to, you know, to communicate.
Yeah, it's true. It's but in this project, I also I really try to make a story out of it. Also, very much. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, a lot of these shoes are going to be communicated all over the world, and very few people are going to wear them. So it is, you know, a story which tries to inspire the brains and the hearts of people around the world. And really, these shoes, you know, a few photos will do. You know, we don't need hundreds of these shoes. Just a few will do. So it's wonderful.
One of the other things on the agenda, which is interesting to discuss with the two of you, is Marcel, you put on this agenda that we have to be more ambitious. It also sounds a bit more entrepreneurial, that we have to take more risks to get things going and to make a change. Is it something which you relate to in your own work and yourself as well, or maybe I'm not sure if you want to speak as a generation, maybe you're not. But
no,
is there something entrepreneurial you like about this statement? And do you think you have?
No,
enough?
I think I see myself, and the people that are working around me as entrepreneurs, because we start to create. Piet and ik said it in a very nice way: to create your own circumstances. Yeah. So we created our own circumstances to work in, and that's already, I think, entrepreneurial to do.
And what is important of these circumstances? Could you name a certain of these circumstances which are essential to be able to...
That you have your place to work, that you have your network, your machines, your tools.
Yeah.
I think this is very important for a creative person to start with. And to create his own circumstances in the way you like it, together with other people, that's already entrepreneurial, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think all the people that do that, put their effort in it, they work very hard for it. They put almost their whole life into it to create this, and they spend all their money in it also. So.
Okay, so you're doing it, but do you think we're doing enough as a society, as a designer, as a design scene?
It's for me very hard to put a...
Well, I think you can have an opinion on it.
I think this is the moment to step up.
Well, maybe you say, I don't think it's important. I mean, that's fine as well.
No, I think it's important that a lot of things... But I think a lot of things also change. And I think you see this change is happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think what is good that we see this as a whole, you
Yeah.
know, as a whole, and then name it, and then say, okay, how can we use it in a different way?
Yeah.
And I think we should look at what is happening.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think it's very hard to just say it has to change in such a way, but we should nurture more.
No, okay, I get it, but are we looking hard enough then? Are we, as a scene, as the people here in this room, are we looking hard enough as Marcel is addressing it?
Some
Because
people
he
do.
thinks not.
Some people do, but the people who are in charge or in the end have to, you know, decide about it. They are not.
Okay.
So that's a bit maybe a problem, maybe not. Maybe we just have to accept that it is like that, and it will always stay like that. You know, I'm also a bit like that in it. You know,
You're more the accepting.
no, but some things you have to. Yeah, some things you can change. Some things you have to accept. And I think it's very good that you see that people do to try to change it themselves.
Yeah.
And then from that there will new things will happen.
Interesting. What do you think? Are we entrepreneurial? I mean, you're ambitious. You think we should do more.
I think
are we
it's-
entrepreneurial enough here in Eindhoven, here in the Netherlands?
Well, I think there's a lot more happening here in Eindhoven than in the rest of the country. So I think it's a compliment for this city and for other people.
If it's happening somewhere, it's here.
No, it's wonderful, and I'm driving all the way from Amsterdam to be here. It's wonderful what's happening in Eindhoven. I think it's a big compliment for all the people who are part of that. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the designers. I mean, like you're very entrepreneurial. I mean, you're trying to find a way to have your own company, your own business, to make your own. You make your living, but also make your own ideas work better and better. And it takes time. I mean, I think what I also said a little bit, like, I've been building inside a long time until I felt strong enough, and then it plopped outside. It's just like suddenly, you're strong enough to be also outside, and sometimes it takes a while. But it's not an issue. I think you have to work on personal strength. You have to become better every day. And if for one day you feel you're not growing, you have to move out. You have to just find another location, find another way. You have to grow every day. And that's and you have to grow in very different areas. I mean, but I always tried to grow the areas where I was weakest. People always told me, always in my life, people told me, "Oh, Marcel, but you should. You don't have to do this. Man. You should do what you're really good at. You have a talent. You have to really concentrate on your talent."
And off you went again.
And I'm like, "What? Why should I concentrate on my talent? I mean, I have to. If I'm a runner and I run hurdles, then I'm just falling over the hurdles. Why would I study running faster? I have to run hurdles, right? So." I've always concentrated on the things which are most difficult to me. I've always educated myself in the areas where it's most difficult to me. And I've seen that wherever I was able to grow in these areas, my talent would automatically follow. Just like, just follow. Because it's my talent. I don't have to do nothing to grow that talent. I think we have to... And it's a bit more difficult because you have to push yourselves in areas where you're really uncomfortable. Because all learning happens outside comfortability. All learning happens outside comfortability.
Well,
you're not going to learn in a comfortable way. Nobody will ever.
Sander, can you share a very uncomfortable moment in your last project? Or was there one?
Uncomfortable moment.
Yeah, where you really had to push yourself, get you into a situation like, oh, why am I here?
No, I cannot.
Everything went smooth as you planned.
I cannot say. I didn't have a really. Yeah, actually, it was very nice. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I didn't have a very uncomfortable moment. But maybe I should search it also more. The things I don't do well. But I think in general, arranging stuff, and you just have to do it. And I also don't like it so much. Doing the phone calls and things. Now I'm really busy for this event and for this week. And you almost not sleep. But,
you really slept during the day just to get prepared for tonight. So
I slept, yeah.
Extra fresh.
I slept,
yeah.
But I'm still not awake.
Marcel, we also asked you to give a picture of something you find inspiring, and I think the first one is Wim Delvoye. Let's see the work.
I'm curious which work was selected from him. I think he's
here you go.
It's an outrageously wonderful artist, and I just love it, the work he's doing. And it's wonderful if you discover someone with his first works and you feel like, wow, this is super cool, super great. And then over time you start to see more and more work, and it's getting better and better. I mean, that's so much rewarding for yourselves, right? I mean, it's so wonderful to see someone grow in his role as an artist and in his capacity to create magnificent work. And it's something I love to talk about because it's so wonderful to share. It's such wonderful work. So that's something I thought was nice to share.
Yeah.
But I think we know the work of Wim Delvoye in the Netherlands quite a bit. So, I mean, this is one of his works. He does a lot of Röntgen photos, shows the type of photography which is, just very medical, and he shows it in a very different way in pornographic movements and just like mice and crazy stuff. But he tattoos pigs. He makes, Baroque caterpillars, just completely out of this world. And I think a wonderful artist who is, I think the Belgians are good not in being as a group, but as individuals, they're really fabulous. And I think he's a great example of it.
Okay. So there's no Belgian design because they're individualists. So.
No, I think if you look to, there's in fashion they have but also there maybe different. I think see the Dutch. In the periods that they are around, they're always in a kind of a group, but the Belgians they're always alone. whether Marguerite or Delvoye or in dance, they're all unique people. They're never in a group.
Yeah.
So but they're kind of a bit alien always. But wonderful to see what they do.
Interesting insight. Let's look at your second clip that you wanted to bring with us for why it inspires you, and you wanted to share it with here tonight at this evening. Let's have a look at the second clip, the movie film clip that we have.
Pop music or music from different genres seems untouchable. Elton John seems untouchable. Obviously, they create that and they force that idea in your mind that these people are superstars and untouchable. So just being able to just manipulate and do whatever you want, just kind of put Elton John in a headlock and just, put a beat behind him and pour a beer on his head.
Whether or not you think this music is original isn't the point, because the rules of this game don't depend on who made the songs. They depend on who owns the copyright. And according to the people that do, sampling even a single note is grounds for a lawsuit. That means these kids should not be dancing. And you shouldn't be watching, because using these songs in my movie is against the rules too. And the fact that there are people out there calling my favorite artist a criminal is exactly why I need to make this film.
Nicely edited. The
end.
Yeah.
Cuts. The mixing culture, copyrights. There's lots of in there.
Yeah, it's Girl Talk, the artist, but it is the documentary, and I think a lot of young people know the documentary here. I think the older generation maybe not so much. But it's called the Remix Manifesto, and it's about... it starts with music, actually, and that you cannot copy any part of any music. But it goes much further in our modern culture, that so many things are kept for certain companies.
Yep.
And also very deep. It goes about the AIDS medicine on a certain moment. And in Brazil, they copy the AIDS medicine, to help people.
Yeah.
But there is a big conflict between the United States and Brazil about that. So it thinks it shows through music, it shows very nice how the world of copyrights is acting now. And actually, you know, being bad to us all. Yeah.
And is this something? How do you see this? That then do you relate it within your work, or is this is an issue which is top of mind and is something you want to?
In the shoe project, I used this part also a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's also a lot about, you know, faking brands, using brands next to each other, making mixes out of brands.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's very inspiring. Well, you can't call him DJ. I did my research on him.
Oh yeah,
It's a very topic. Is it something you can relate to, Marcel?
Yeah, I think we talked about it very short. It's one of the issues we are facing today. I think copyrights are more and more difficult to keep and to have. I think with all rights, you always have to go back to the roots of rights. I mean, it is kind of strange because I mean, if I make a chair and I think it's mine, and it's got 4 legs, then probably that's been done before. Yeah, and wood. Yeah, also in wood. Yeah, also with the back. So it is a kind of, you know, we are very easy to steal first, and then to tell that someone else stole from us, because we are all working on the shoulders of other people. And so I think modesty is the first thing we should have when it's about this kind of rights. But at the other end, I mean, we live in a world where, you know, to go from one step to the other step, to really innovate and to get to new points, we have to innovate. We have to put money in. We have to put energy inside. And so I think in general, most of the products which are being invested in, maybe 1 out of 10 becomes maybe a success. If then, because copiers never copy, you know, the 9 things which are not a success. They copy the one thing which is a success. They forget that, you know, the success piece had to be first made, developed, engineered, but also communicated. It had to be made a success. I mean, yeah, and then ultimately stealing most of the time is more cheap than buying. Yeah, it's just like that. And so it's really trouble. If we want a world which moves forward, which learns, which shares poetry of people, which can dream, if we want a world like that, then we should be an example of, you know, perfection when it comes to the rights of others. And I think we have to you know, be very humble there, because I think not everything we do is, you know, ours. But I think we also have to be clear on what is ours and defend it. And it's something we have to find a way to deal with, because in a world where our activities are more and more immaterial, it's going to be more and more difficult. And I think it's great that our work becomes more immaterial, but it's going to be therefore more and more difficult to defend. Yeah,
that's an interesting way of thinking. Is it something that's this immaterial side? Is that something you?
Yeah, also, I like to add maybe to this that people have to get money for what they do, or they have to, you know, do research for it. I think this is of course it's true, but there's a point where it stops. You know, somebody will make a song, for example, or his parents make a song for something. He doesn't own the song. It's like, for me, this is a ridiculous idea. So an iPhone almost, you know, it's still from Apple, but we all bought this iPhone. So it's also a little bit ours, you know, because we all adapted this product in our mind. So I think we have to find a new balance there. Yeah. Of course, we have to give the money to the companies to develop stuff. But we can also say, okay, we like to give the money to these companies because we know they develop nice things for us. So we pay for them, and then they develop something nice, but then it's ours. Then we adapt it back.
Yeah, but it works that way. There's a time slot on the legal ownership of property rights.
Yeah, but it's still met with. Sometimes it's still, I don't know how it is with these songs. Like they're so old already, and how they're still in.
Yeah, it's 25 years. It's a long time. Yeah.
And with the Disney, it was also in the movie. I also don't know.
Yeah, but Disney is a great example. Disney is a great example. How old is Cinderella?
Very old. Yeah.
But who wrote Cinderella? It's the Grimm brothers. Who has the rights of Walt Disney? Of who has the right of Cinderella? It's Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, that's really weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff, you know. That's where I think it goes wrong a lot. But people just claim territory, and which really they didn't create, and that's happening a lot. And that will end, of course. It will end because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable.
And thanks to Sander's work. Let's see if there are questions from the audience. You've been listening, being inspired, hopefully, during our conversation. But please don't be shy and ask the question you always wanted to ask, either to Marcel or to Sander or both, as an addition to the topics of tonight, but also maybe you missed the topic and you think this has to be addressed before we leave this building here during the Dutch Design Week. So raise your hand, and there is a microphone person running around. Please make sure of your democratic rights tonight. We're just going to wait until somebody... yeah, over there. Great. Please state your name and what kind of comment or question you have.
Hello, I'm from South Korea and now I'm a student. I'm traveling around Europe. My name is Jae Hwan Lee. I just want to ask you about, you said about learning is always out of the comfortable, right? Yeah, but I think we usually, like you, we have to focus on ourselves. That means we have to know myself. That means like I have to be comfortable. I have to be peace myself. So I'm a little bit confused about your opinion. Can you explain about the gap between uncomfortable and be myself, like comfortable, be myself, relax? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's a clear question. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you have a really fair point. I think a life in discomfort only is not a life anyone wants. But a life in complete comfort is probably in a little wooden box, and you're probably dead. So it's about the balance you find between the one and the other. I don't think that I have to learn all day, but I have to learn once a day. So I'm not telling you have to live an uncomfortable life, but I think we sometimes are a bit scared for uncomfortable situations. And I think, I think the great thing, I think one of the things designers can do is they are able to, in their mind, run into a dark space of the unknown, just like go crazy, experiment like crazy in their mind. Just so good that they don't get hurt enough and to find something. I mean, that's what we can do. A lot of rational people are not able to do this. We can do this. So we are able to live with discomfort. And I think discomfort, if you give it a good size, I think we can live with it.
Give it a good size.
And I think it's something you have to look for.
Okay, thanks so much. Sander, you want to add something on this? Because you were searching for this, getting out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, no, of course I also suffer a lot by doing the things I do. And that's because you want to achieve some stuff, and then, but I don't search for this trouble, but I get into this trouble, and I have to solve it to get somewhere.
Okay.
So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Who else?
I'm looking for trouble.
In the last couple of minutes of this evening, here in front. Please state your name. Please stand up so we can see you. And yeah.
Hello, my name is Badra Belgiti Alawi. I have a question. What kind of product would you work on, if you would like to in the future?
Oh, that was my final question.
Oh, really?
It's a great question. So so the question is, what would be the ideal product or thing?
Yeah, I am a bit curious.
Yeah, you're a good moderator. Thank you. Yeah.
I have to be first. Yeah, you asked me on the telephone.
Yeah, I did.
But I
forgot
what I said.
I'll think of a new one.
Okay.
a new ultimate ideal thing.
Unlimited resources, possibilities,
I have to
people.
lie a bit. No, I think I told you that I really liked. You said what would be the ultimate project?
Yeah.
And maybe in a little bit I did it already with the collaboration we had, because that was such a great experience with to work with a lot of different people to get in trouble with each other, to get on the low points, the high points, to achieve stuff and to constantly make this the rules better and the functioning better. And yeah, I think maybe I would like to do a project like that on a different scale, or
Okay.
I think, and a little bit goes into the shoes. So, but I don't want to have too much expectations, because that's really the most for me the biggest trouble in life.
Keep it
because
real.
I came here and then the people asked me like, do you want to have lunch with or dinner with us? And I said, yeah, that would be nice. So I imagined a table with a dinner and together. And in the end, I was sitting eating my microwave dinner, my sausage, on my own. So that was the problem of my expectations of that evening. So I hope I don't want to have too much expectations, and things will come. And yeah.
Okay. Well, fair enough. That's an attitude. Marcel.
Yeah, I was thinking this afternoon about, because I did a little party for the weekend, and then we got a few gifts left and right, and then of course there were a few things I'm thinking like, yeah, why do I get this? And so I thought, it would be wonderful if there was wrapping paper, which I could now use to wrap these things and give them to people, and feel really good about it, and to make it something like super cool. So, I mean, I remember when I was like 10 years old, I did a party also, and I got from a friend of mine, I got a second-hand Tarzan cartoon booklet. And my mom was like, my God, is that horrible, these kids. And I really loved it, because I thought it was really cool to have a book which he liked, because I was sure he liked it, because it was completely torn right. And I think I would love to find a way to make packaging paper which supports the idea that it's wonderful to get something which is used from someone else and therefore qualified for you. So be better because it is secondhand and qualified for a gift for you. And I'm thinking a little bit on how to make that work. So maybe that's going to work. It'll be fun.
Okay. We're almost at the end of this evening. Sander, I just reminded what you were saying during a telephone, because you had a very ambitious design project. It was about the ultimate sustainable way of living by sharing energy and ideas. So actually, he's a very ambitious man, but today he kept it real. Marcel and Sander, I would thank you a lot for your time and for sharing your ideas and your visions, that you wanted to talk to each other about, sharing the ideas and the positions you have in the current design world, and hopefully many years to follow. Good luck with that, and thank you for being here and for your questions, and have a great evening, and see you next time here at the Dutch Design Week.
Thank you.
Thank you.